Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. I'm with Oculus Rift Reviews. Today we're going to review and play Pagan Peak VR. Pagan Peak VR is a game released on the Steam Store October 30th, 2019 by developer Another World. This is the same developer that made one of my favorite experiences in VR, Kobold Chapter 1. And I still just remember being blown away by the graphics in that game. The photogrammetry was just amazing. This game looks equally as good. However, I do agree with some of the negative reviews on this game, but I'll get into that a little bit later. I did get a free Steam key through the Steam Curator Connect program. This game normally retails for $9.99 for the HTC Vive, Valve Index, and the Oculus Rift. It's currently 10% off. In long story short, I do recommend this game. There's high production values. Now, this is a more traditional escape room. So if you're expecting something like Kobold Chapter 1, this game is quite different. So Kobold Chapter 1 was more of a cinematic experience, sort of more of like a walking simulator. This is more of a traditional puzzle escape room. What sets this apart from other puzzle escape rooms, though, is the high production values, the fact that there's a story, it's a thriller, and I don't want to give out too many spoilers, but basically you're trapped in a cabin with a killer, this Krampus killer, and you have to escape. So that's the setup. It took me a little bit over an hour to finish the game. I think the average time for the escape room will probably be an hour. However, you can probably finish the game in 20 minutes if you're just a really good puzzle person. If you're not very good with puzzles, it might take you longer than an hour. It might take you 2 hours. But I don't imagine a person being stuck too long in this game, especially because restarting the game, even if the worst happens and you die, you have to restart completely from the beginning. It's very easy to get to where you were just because basically the solutions to the puzzles stay the same. So you can pretty much skip all the little side puzzles if you can solve the main puzzle. And so I was able to see the alternate ending just by knowing the ultimate solution to the first room and the second room. So both of them, you just need to know what the password is for the last puzzle of that room, and you can skip the rest. And so that's what I did to get to the alternate ending. And that was actually one of my biggest disappointments about the game, is that the first two rooms do have like several puzzles and several things to discover and notice, and you just have to be observant to be able to progress. However, the third portion is very different. You just kind of like walk along a path and then just make a decision. If you make the right decision, you escape. And if you make the wrong decision, something else happens. And I don't want to give out spoilers, but basically you either escape or you don't. I really liked the high production values. The game looks beautiful. There's a little bit of an intrigue with the story. There's a really good atmosphere and pacing with this game, and you find out the motivation for these killings by the killer, and it's a nice little story. However, there are some problems. Like I mentioned, there are some negative reviews, and a lot of them mention like stuttering, hand stuttering, the game not running all that well, and I did experience that. But on my 1060 GTX, basically I was getting 45 frames per second, and for some reason my hands would stutter with certain objects, and I don't know why, but just random stuttering. However, I do disagree with the negative reviews. I don't think that really affects the gameplay all that much. Yeah, I don't like it. It's definitely a negative. I'm not going to say it's a positive. But did it detract from the experience? Yeah, but only a little bit. It doesn't really take away from the game. It doesn't really take away from the puzzles. This is not like playing Dark Souls or playing Mortal Kombat Online, where those frames per second really wouldn't matter a whole lot. If you're sensitive to motion sickness, then you might want to pass on this game, but I don't. And again, there's full locomotion, and there's 3 different turning options. There's a comfort turning option, there's a snap turning option, and there's like a smooth snap turning option. Honestly, I think the normal snap turning option is probably the best, because the smooth snap turning option is not really smooth all that much. I would prefer the snap turning in this case. You can also press A or X and you'll crouch down to make items easier to grab. So you can totally play this game seated. You don't need standing room. You don't need... well, there are some items that are a little bit high to reach, so you might need to just reach out a bit if you're seated. You might want to stand up for those sections where there's... and I think I only experienced that one time where there was an object pretty high and I needed to stand up. I think that only happened once. Other than that, though, you can play this game comfortably seated. No issues at all with that. Again, this game will take you about an hour on average to beat. Unfortunately, there is no replayability. And fortunately, though, the good news of that is that once you know the solutions, you can quickly restart the game to get that alternate ending if you're so inclined. Although I have to admit, I was pretty disappointed by the alternate ending. I definitely got the good ending the first time, and then I got the bad ending, and that was kind of like a letdown. I thought there was going to be more to the bad ending, but there wasn't. Overall, I would say definitely this is a buy, a recommend. I'm going to give this game a 7 out of 10. I know it has issues. I know it has poor frame rates, and I know it has some hand stuttering, but it's a really well-made puzzle game. My main concern, my main knockdown for this game is just at the last third of the game. It's not really a puzzle. It's just basically a choice. And I wasn't able to figure out if there was a way to figure out which was the correct choice, because I just kind of made a random choice and I happened to be correct. And I'm not sure if there's something in that scene that would indicate there's a correct choice versus there being a wrong choice. I'm not sure if there's something there. I may be wrong on that, but I just didn't see a way to figure out which one was the right one and which was the wrong one. It was just random chance that I chose the correct one and got the good ending on my first try. And then, like I said, I tried the alternate ending. It just wasn't very satisfying, unfortunately. So I didn't like the last third of the game, but overall, I would say it has high production values. It's very atmospheric. I like the story. And I thought the puzzles were good in that you could observe and you could figure out the puzzles just from your observation. So it's not one of those puzzle games that's just random or some twisted logic. As long as you're observant, you'll solve them. So overall, I'd say definitely buy.